today I'm going to share a little bit about myself. So if you want to get to know me and a little more about how this channel came to be, then stick around. Welcome back to Blushing Phoenix. My name is April, and today I'm going to talk about something a little bit different. Probably not go too far into it, but what I wanted to let you all know, just a little bit about myself, just an introduction to me. My name is April Pointer, and I live in Nashville, Tennessee, in the United States of America. And I have been married to my husband for 14 years, and I have two children. I have a son who is 7 and a daughter who will be 13 next month. I have a job as a corporate executive. I work for a local company as the chief people officer, and what that means is I help make sure that our culture is cultivated. I also work with what we call the post-sales department, which is everything after the customer has paid for our services. I oversee the whole client experience. So a big part of my job as a people officer is to make sure that people, whether that be internal employees or external clients, are thriving, are happy, are having a great experience overall. I spent a lot of time in human resources, about 15 years in human resources, and just realized that there's just something about being able to connect to the person that makes everything so purposeful. I spent a couple of years in addiction treatment. I absolutely loved addiction treatment. I worked in behavioral health and helping people with substance abuse and mental health disorders get the help that they needed. And during that time, I took a break from corporate HR, moved into the addiction treatment field, and just realized that there's just so much more in this world that I just want to put my arms around. I'm a certified CBT practitioner, cognitive behavioral therapist, and I'm also a certified life coach. And the reason why I added those certifications to my resume, so to speak, is so that I could educate myself, so that as I'm interacting with people, I would just have a better set of skills to work with them. I'm a published author. My book is Pressing Forward. You probably see it back there. Pressing Forward. Pushing through fear and anxiety to find my truest self. I wrote this book because I was struggling with anxiety and depression and suicidal ideations and all kinds of mental health things. So after dealing with that for about a year, I dug my way out of it the hard way, just on my own, kind of just get it together. And I don't know why that worked for me. And looking back on that was back in 2011. So looking back on that, I'm like, I should have just got help or medication or something, but I didn't. So here we are now. And one of the things that I still really like to do is to help people cultivate their inner self, like find that I call it the center, find the center of who they are and start listening for that more and more, because I feel like we've really been taught to ignore that. We've been programmed to look away from that, don't listen to that. And truly that's the voice that's calling out all the time, whether you want to call that your conscience or whatever you want to call it. It's you. It is you speaking to you. And I think on my own journey over the past 3 years, I did have a spiritual awakening, and my life radically changed. And so with that, over the past 3 years or so, around the time of this spiritual awakening, when I was working in addiction treatment, that's when I started having chest and neck flushing. It's when I started to just become red and splotchy. It's this hyper awareness of myself, of my body, of my mind, and also this overwhelming sense of judgment from the outside. Now, when I say spiritual awakening, I don't want to be all, ooh, spiritual awakening, but spiritual awakening is just you become aware of yourself. You become aware of your connection to source. And I had that. And when I did, also I think that this constant fear of judgment that I'd had my whole life, I started to let that go in my mind once the spiritual awakening happened. But my body just like pulled it full force. And so as I started to flush and get splotchy on my chest and neck and people would call it out, I then started to develop erythrophobia, which is the fear of blushing. So it keeps you in this perpetual cycle of not wanting to turn red, and so you then turn red, and then you don't want to turn red, and so you want to turn red. It is insane, but it's what I was dealing with. And as I was climbing the corporate ladder once I got out of addiction treatment and into more like corporate executive and climbing that ladder from vice president up to chief people officer, just this overall pressure of needing to show up and be what they wanted me to be, because if I'm not that, then they're going to find somebody else who is. And I don't know, I didn't start off that way when I started climbing the corporate ladder, but it just impressed itself upon me. And so I was starting to turn red, and I was getting more public with my speaking, with being in meetings, with big decisions, and just this pressure, I guess, which in my mind it didn't feel like pressure. I actually was really excited about it and just overwhelmed for the opportunity. But I would chest flush and splotch and neck turn all red, and I felt that it was going to diminish this image of me to the other executives who had put me in that position. So I created this channel. One night, after a dentist appointment where I turned super splotchy while I was on the gas, the dental assistant freaked out and thought I was having an allergic reaction to latex, I'm sure, because I think that's their biggest concern when you're getting dental work done. And I was super high on the gas, so I laid there, and I just remember talking to myself on the inside and just saying, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry that I've let this happen to you, and I'm going to walk you through healing. And everything changed in that moment. I guess you would call that shadow work, where you're meeting this part of yourself, this little child part of yourself, and you're just saying to yourself, I'm so sorry. I see you. I love you, and we're going to walk this out together. And from that moment forward, I started working on what could I be putting in my body that might be causing this to happen? What traumas have I experienced that maybe I've healed those in my mind, but they're still going through that motion of fight or flight in my body? And then one day, I just thought, I should start talking about this, because every time I would look for erythrophobia or skin flushing, excessive blushing, I couldn't find it anywhere. And so then one day I was taking a shower, and I just heard from that inner self, from that center of myself, saying, this is what you need to talk about, which is also the thing I was most terrified to talk about. And so here we are. It started out as Lean In Warrior, and then has evolved to Blushing Phoenix. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a rundown of a little backdrop about myself. And the other thing I want to share with you is I'm highly considering creating another channel, because I also am a poet. I write a lot of poetry, and even though I have my memoir over there, that's really not my style of writing. My style of writing is very intuitive poetry, and I have a book that I've been working on with the poetry, and was thinking of creating another channel where I will share that, as well as some of the other things from my spiritual awakening. So if you're interested in that, I'd love to hear from you. And if not, and you just like the Blushing Phoenix page, that's fantastic too. I'm going to keep posting things here as well. But that's all I have for you today. I just wanted to take a moment and share a little more about myself, because I know I don't really get to do that with you very often. So here you go. All right, my friends, until my next video, I'll see you later.